Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices like Aftershock, San Francisco, and Venice. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today there's been an earthquake. And there's going to be some aftershocks, so we're going to be building bridges and trying to go from certain areas to other areas, running away from the aftershocks. Today we're taking a look at a game called Aftershock from Stronghold Games. This is co-designed by Alan R. Moon, the one who brought us Ticket to Ride, which I love. So let's check out how this game works, and I'll see you on the other side. Aftershock is a strategy game for 3 to 5 players where each player is going to have their own shield. They'll be doing some hidden planning behind it. They'll also be purchasing different cards and trying to control different areas. The game comes with a double-sided board that shows the San Francisco area on one side, as far south as San Jose, and as far north as San Rafael, and this side of the board is for 4 or 5 players. The other side of the board shows Venice, Italy, and you'll be using this side of the board for 3 players or in the 2-player variant. The game's played over 3 major rounds. Unless you're playing with 5 players, that's just 2 rounds. But at the end of each of those rounds, each area is going to score for majority of area control. For example, here in San Francisco, the blue player has the most people and they'd get 10 points and red would get 8. Here in South San Francisco, white would get 5, red would get 3, and yellow would get 2. And you'd score every region like this at the end of the game. This is basically the way to score in the game. However, sometimes there'll be aftershocks forcing the different people into different areas. Like if this one had an aftershock just before scoring and the blue player caused it, they could force any one of these to a different area. For example, if red had built a bridge here and red was getting forced out, they could come over to this bridge and be here, and now they're tied for the lead in South San Francisco. And if they didn't have a bridge, they could pay a player that has a bridge to use theirs to move to different spots. And you can move even as far as you want. So the red player could pay to use this yellow's bridge and then use its own bridge to go from here to here and maybe be the lone leader in Palo Alto, for example. Now each round, players are going to get a hand of 8 cards and they'll be able to decide which ones they want to purchase. And you have a finite amount of money in this game, and it's a closed economy. No more money is infused in after the beginning of the game. But the cards you don't purchase are up for auction for other players to buy from you, giving you money. Like if I wanted this card, I could pay this player $3 and this card would be mine. Players are going to go clockwise, auctioning until everyone successively passes, but you could pass and come back in because somebody might buy one of your cards, giving you money, now giving you more options. Each round when you're buying cards from other players, you'll get a one-time discount of $2 million for one card, $1 million for another card. After that, you always have to pay 1 extra, and you can buy as many as you want going around in clockwise order that way. And after that phase is done, everyone's going to be activating the cards that they bought that place meeples, like this 2 in Palo Alto, for example, and then all these cards get discarded. Players will also be adding bridges and meeples behind their shield that they'll be planning for, discarding those cards. They'll also be adding influence behind their shield, which will help them score a little bit later. And they'll also be possibly getting aftershocks, which will help them shake up the landscape. Then players will be able to simultaneously and secretly plan where they want to build bridges, where they want extra meeples to go, and where they want aftershocks to happen. Then in player order, players will reveal their shield and they'll be placing any meeples or bridges that they have ready. For example, that meeple into San Jose and a bridge touching Palo Alto, and when you place a bridge, you can actually build the whole thing, assuming you have enough pieces left in your supply. Then once everyone's placed meeples and bridges, starting with the first player going around, they're going to cause an aftershock where they planned it to be, in this case, South San Francisco. Then you roll a die that has between 1 and 3, and you'll be able to displace that many meeples. Sometimes you'll have a bigger aftershock, which will be 1 plus this. Sometimes you'll have a huge one, which will be 2 plus this. And the player that caused the aftershock gets to pick which meeples will be displaced, and the player that owns them will get to decide where they go. For example, the red player's meeple has to move. Maybe it will use its own bridge to solidify its lead here, or maybe it pays $1 million to the yellow player and moves over here and tries to get the bigger points, but the yellow player is getting displaced as well from that white player, and maybe they use their own bridge to tie with this larger scoring. So white might say, hey red player, will you score South San Francisco with me? The red player might go, yes, I will, but only if you put it on Palo Alto because I want to score this. And it's a negotiation. But deals are not binding. You can tell them you're going to do something and then later not keep your promise. So the negotiation is a big part of the scoring of this game. And once everyone's done, flip it up and everyone will see which ones will score. Again, any one that has 2 players, scoring markers will score, or if it has at least a player scoring marker and a influence marker will score, with the exception of San Rafael only needs 1 scoring token to match. Plus, whoever has the most bridges will score as well. And again, you're going to be scoring first, second, or third number of points depending on shown. And if most bridges scores, meaning having 2 or more players with the scoring markers, they'll have this for how many individual pieces of bridges they have out there as well. Now at the end of that round, everyone is going to split up the money, which is tokens. So it's a closed economy. So all the money spent this round is in a bank, and that will get evenly distributed to the other players, plus all the money you didn't use that round as well. And you continue doing this for 2 more rounds, unless you're playing with 5 players and it's just 1 more round. Then whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. All right, well, let's first talk about what I liked about Aftershock. This game combines different gaming mechanisms seamlessly. So let's go through the different ones that sort of weaves into this, what I'm calling a masterpiece here. It has a closed economy, using money that you're going to be using to purchase cards and use bridges, meaning running across other players' bridges, as I showed in the overview. And it's interesting that way because no more money gets infused in after the beginning of the game, and you're going to be spending money sometimes to the bank, sometimes to other players when you're buying cards from them, or sometimes to other players when you're running on their bridges. And certain people are going to have a certain amount of money, and at the end of the round, that money comes back in from the bank evenly. So nothing else gets infused in, and I like that closed economy there. Now, speaking of that, you're going to be using that money in the auctions. And this auction style works really well. It keeps everybody engaged because when you pass, you might not have any money, or you might not have a good move to make, and you might pass, but then someone else might buy a card from you, giving you more money, allowing you to now have new decisions, new things that you can do, and then you want to come back in, and it keeps everyone engaged because everyone's hoping that someone might give them more money so they can have just another turn. They're thinking about what might happen when when they do get another influx of cash, and I like that. It keeps the game moving, and it doesn't bog down, and you're always interested in what's going on in the auctions. You're also interested in what you don't want other players to buy from you, because at the end, you get to take one of those cards and put it back into your hand for free. I don't even know if I showed that in the overview, but that's a little rule there. You're hoping that players don't buy a certain card. You're kind of on edge there, and it has a little bit of tension. A lot of this game is simultaneous. You're putting your meeples out there. You're building your bridges. You're planning your aftershocks. You're planning where your bridges are going to go. And a lot of that's done simultaneously, and I always like that in the games. Keeps the game moving. Area control. I love area control. This game does it really well, deciding where to really have a knife fight, where you're really going big in against other players, and where can you try to just slip into with maybe one player and get a decent amount of points and maybe second or third place. The aftershocks are very interesting because at first it sounds like, well, these are just going to be played for bad reasons and you're going to be pushing other players out. Not always, because first of all, if you do an aftershock and you force other players out, they might have pretty good options on where to go and beat you in other areas. So it might be best beneficial to actually aftershock and have your own players move, your own meeples move out, because sometimes you're like, well, you know what, I'm not going to win this one anyway, but if I shock myself out, I can go down here and get some points over here. I've already got a bridge, I can use it for free. So it's really interesting that you can use aftershock to like push other players out, which sometimes ends up turning into things that you didn't think were going to happen. You really got to think things through, or sometimes you can use it to help yourself. I think that's a really interesting thing of this whole aftershock. I really love that idea. My favorite part about the game, the negotiating. I love negotiating in games, and this game, oh my gosh. When you're negotiating for the scoring markers and you're like, hey, you know what, you score this and I'll score this and we'll both be happy, right? And I'll do this for you, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. And it really has a feeling to one of my favorite negotiation area control games, Tammany Hall. And it has that feeling of that with this because it's non-binding. You need other players to help you. But this plays in about half the time. Tammany Hall takes our group upwards of 3 hours sometimes to play that game. This one's, depending on the amount of players, but it says 60 minutes on the box. It's probably going to be closer to 90 if you like to negotiate quite a bit, which we do. But the negotiation in this game is amazing. It's really the best part of this game for me. Now, all the other parts work really well, and even if the negotiation wasn't there, I'd say this is a good game. But I think the negotiation and the way that works, and a lot of the hidden information, takes that from being an okay or a good game to a fantastic game. Now, this game has above the table play, like the negotiation, and it really does take that to the next level. Overall, I really love this game. On the negative side of things, it can have some analysis paralysis when deciding aftershocks. Not necessarily where they're going to go, that too, but also even when you're aftershocking a place or you're shocking a place, it's like, which of the two meeples do I want to push? And you really have to think through all the things. If I do this one, they're probably going to move here. Ooh, and they can move all the way up there because they've built a big network of bridges. They can pay someone else, so you can move pretty far with the aftershocks with bridges and paying other players to use their bridges. Or do I shock my... And so sometimes it can really bog down a little bit, especially towards the end of the game where you're trying to figure out what should I do, because there's a lot of things you got to figure out. And if you're being shocked, then you have to think, okay, now where am I going to go? If I go here, I'll get second place here, and that will get me this many points. But if I go over here, I'll get this many points because I'll come in third. But if I spend $1 million to go all the way up here, I can get, so there's a lot of thinking, and sometimes that can bog the game down just a bit. It's a minor quibble for me. Non-binding agreements. I think they're fun. They're not for everybody. If you don't like it because at the end of this game, you're going to make a deal and you're going to get screwed, and it might be the difference between you winning or losing. If you're not okay with that, then this isn't the game for you. And with that being said, because of the amount of teamwork you kind of need and the non-binding agreements and things like that, king making is possible, where at some point someone else is going to decide which players are going to be moving out of an area, and that can make or break the game for either one of them. And they can, even if they're not directly involved, they can sort of alter the end of the game. It's possible, and that can happen. So you want to keep that in check. But overall, for me and my group, we love this game. And for that reason, and for all these reasons, I am keeping it in my gaming library. It's getting inducted, which is hard to do these days. So for that, let's do it properly with a saxophone serenade. Did you miss the Game Topper 2.0 Kickstarter? Have no fear, it's not too late to get in on the ultimate gaming accessory. Convert your table into a high-quality gaming table with a fully portable Game Topper system and take advantage of some of the best 3mm premium gaming mats in the industry. New styles, new sizes, and new accessories can be yours. Upgrade every game you play by late backing now at GameToppersLLC.com.